Welcome to the podcast, Living by the Mantras, where we ask you, what's your mantra? I'm your host, colleensouza. I'm a wife, mom. I'm a teacher. I am a coach. I am the author of the book, Living by the Mantras, Common Sense Wisdom for an Extraordinary Life. And today I am here with one of my son's best friends. I'm here with Kaden Conners, and he is going to introduce himself.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me today, first of all. I am Kaden Conners. I am a film and TV actor. I'm Canadian. And I actually met Tim in Canada when he was studying there.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten to know the Souzas over the years. and so I've seen this all in person.
He has lived amongst us enough to understand and know. We have a thing we do here at our household when we play a board game. Whoever wins gets to sign the board. And Caden's on a couple of our game boards. A particular one we all love, the Catan game.
Absolutely.
And he signed it again last night. He defeated me by about that much, not by much. So today, Kaden and I are here to talk about the series that we've been discussing. Get the job, then learn the job. No fear. And so the mantra in our household has always been get the job, then learn the job, show no fear. And today we're going to talk about the subconscious mind. So this is our third episode, and it's about the way our minds, whether we're aware of it or not, have a lot to do with how we take a look at things in life, whether we live in fear or don't live in fear. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the gut instinct. The gut instinct. We all talk about it. You know, that feeling you get.
Yeah.
How in life has your gut instinct served you well?
Yes. Wow. I really love the gut instinct, and I've really come to trust it.
Okay.
I feel like early on, sometimes I've heard people say like, "Oh, you can't just trust your gut because your gut will lead you astray." But the irony is I've come to realize it's actually the opposite. Your gut is very much like it's guidance. I think it's this like unseen internal thing that we can only tangibly experience as the person feeling it themselves.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I really, when you come to trust it, it can help guide you through things that you overthink. I'm an overthinker.
I think a lot of us are. I know I'm not an overthinker, but I've raised a couple of overthinkers, so I totally identify. Yes.
And
I'm married to an overthinker.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
They inherited it from him, not me. Not me.
Yeah, no, I think there's been so many times in my life where I've been caught up in overthinking, and I think partly because I'm a Libra, that has to do with it.
Yeah.
And also I have I swear I have undiagnosed ADHD. So the combination just made, I can get overwhelmed by choices and then have to overthink everything and overanalyze it before I come to any kind of decision. And so learning to trust my gut has helped me just to shake that off and commit to something.
This feels right. So we're talking about when you know something feels right.
Yeah.
When you know in your heart, even though everybody else tells you you're crazy, that you can step forward and try something and not live in fear because you know that it's right.
Yes.
You know that it's right.
I'll say that gut feeling will not leave you alone.
It won't.
So it's you kind of have to address it.
Otherwise it haunts you.
It does. It really does. The amount of times that I've had people, let's say I had a falling out with a friend, and I had, for people in my life who said, you don't need closure. And I know that there's theories about whether closure is needed for whom, whatever, in different scenarios. But I've had it before where it just will eat me alive. And I'm I have to do this.
Yeah.
I know it may not even be logical.
Yeah.
But it's something I have to do. And every single time I've done it, I've always felt better. I've always found that resolution.
Right. Well, and a lot of people don't want to address that because it's because of the fear. It's because you don't want to have to deal with a conflict again. You don't want to have to feel the shame of what part of responsibility you took in things or whatever it is. And so then you end up in this I'm not going to deal with it, but it does haunt you.
It does.
I think you're really super right about it. Yeah. So the subconscious mind, just to help identify and clarify and define, it's that piece in the back of our brains that we all have. And it is a scientifically proven piece of our brain processes. Okay. So we have so many neural networks going on in there. And if we were consciously making every decision that we needed to make every day, we would not function. Okay. I mean, I want you to think about some of the routines in your life. Things like, when I get up in the morning, I have a routine. Everybody does. Okay. You get up, you go to the bathroom, you either brush your teeth. When I go to, or, whatever that process is, when I walk into the kitchen in my house every day, we have this electronic coffee maker. All I have to do is touch the screen and it wakes it up. That's one of the first things I do when I walk in there. It's just, do I walk schlump down the hall in my slippers thinking I'm going to go touch the coffee maker? No, I just go touch the coffee maker. And while it's making that sound of the machine warming up the water, I automatically walk over to the fridge to get the creamer. I automatically take down the coffee mug. I automatically get all the pieces out. And I promise you, I don't tell myself to do them. What's telling me to do them? It's that subconscious mind, that habit that we get into. Here's another great one that I think most adults can definitely identify to. Getting in a car to drive.
Yeah.
When you get in your car to drive, do you say, Kaden, please pull out the key now? Do you say, Kaden, please either push the button or turn the ignition? Do you say those things to yourself? No, you just do them.
You're just doing them. Yeah.
I drive a Tesla, and so for me, it's just, if I have my purse on me and I sit down in the car, all I have to do is touch the brake and the car comes on. I don't say, foot, touch the brake now. That's an automatic habit. That process is my subconscious mind. And none of us can argue that it exists when we talk about these practical steps we take every day, but we love to argue as to whether it's real when it's about overcoming fears or making big choices.
Yeah.
It's huge. We want to totally do that. Let's talk about, I have it down here. Have you know the term the Wayback Machine? Have you heard that one? The Wayback Machine. It has to do with technology and the fact that nothing ever disappears anymore. Okay, when I was a teacher back in the day, it's in the mantra number 16. I talk about the fact that I got a job because I actually was goofing around on not my own laptop over the summer. I got one of my first serious teaching jobs, and I put a resume on PowerPoint. You'll have to read the story about that. Get the job and learn the job. But as I was teaching students, because I got the job, when I was teaching the kids about technology, this was well over 20 years ago. And we began to realize that such a thing as a digital footprint was going to exist. And so we needed to be very, very careful. And now they call it the Wayback Machine. And they can go back into the archives of wherever they keep all technical stuff and find out anything they need to know about you. So I'd always have to teach kids to be careful. Our subconscious mind is in a way like the Wayback Machine because it pulls on all those memories, all of our life experiences. So can you think of a time, I worry about putting poor Kaden on the spot. Well, Kaden, come in here, do a podcast with you while you're here. Think of a time, and I'll give you a moment to do that, where a decision you made now had something to do with you realized that gut feeling came from the fact that you had a memory or just knowledge deep inside, or you could lean back and not have fear because you knew some version of that you'd already experienced. You'd already done something. You'd already overcome a fear that would help you be successful in this one. Now, and it could be for you with acting. Every time you audition, each audition has to get easier because I've done this before.
Yeah.
Do this again. How does leaning back on just your history make you stronger when it comes to your subconscious mind?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think that memory and experiences, as you're saying, they go into that database of the subconscious mind, and suddenly when it's kind of in your body, like I always say, you got to trust your body because your body's going to let you know what you need,
right? And
what you got to do. And the more experiences you have, and the more that subconscious mind builds from just practices and doing your things, I think without even thinking about it, you know what to do in that moment, And so when it comes to auditioning, when I first started, I would prepare so much to the point where it didn't feel authentic or real. Like it was just so perfected, and it kind of killed the vibe, killed the energy, because it just was so stale at that point. And I'm so worried about messing up that I wasn't able to just enjoy the moment. So then as I've gone over the years and I've just trusted that my body will be able to do what it needs to do as I'm auditioning, then I'm not thinking about the
Right.
moment, and then I'm not taking myself out of it. Then I can just exist through that.
Because if you're trying to be conscious of every single step, that's when you screw up.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So my auditions over the years have just slowly, obviously, become better and better, and that's the
and therefore roles get better and better, and opportunities get better and better.
Yeah.
I know, it's even when we were starting this today, I was overthinking it. We had to start this 3 times. I'm like, wait, that's not what I meant to say. And I was like, come on, Colleen, let's just roll. But I think I realized I was doing exactly what I'm talking about now. Is I was thinking through every step of it instead of going, we got this. We know what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
We're going to get this down. I mean,
yeah.
So it's really super important to allow your history to help dictate your future in that regard, and overcoming fear, since fear is really what this mantra is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that you can do something, and that you don't need to be afraid, because in some form or some version you've done it before. Like I start the whole book out talking about jumping off the stratosphere in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And when I did not want to do it that day. I did jump off a building that was standing all by itself perfectly fine. But my husband wanted to do this adventure. But in my mind, I thought, okay, I had to go through all the subconscious. I mean, I'd done other adventurous things before. I know these people that are standing here, with all this gear, know what they're doing. They don't really want a dead body on the ground today. I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And you overcome your fear because you begin to logic all those things together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's super important too. I mean, can you think of a time where you've had to logic stuff together, whether it's about your career or anything else, where you're like, I can do this because I know all the pieces are there?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think we all have this voice in our head, the doubter, they say the angel in
the angel and the demon on your shoulder.
Yeah. And I think about times where I've had, an anxiety attack, or just have felt really down, or my energy's low. And all of a sudden that voice is really, really loud in your head. And I think over time you learn to talk back to it.
I love that. Talk back to it. Talk back to that.
And audibly, I will have these conversations out loud with myself, reminding myself Doc, this isn't true. This is the truth. You've done it before. You can do it again. And suddenly,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And suddenly that voice becomes louder, and that's all you got to do. And then it's gone.
I like that. Let's take a note to that. I'm gonna add that to my notes. We got to talk back to the negative voice, because I mean, throughout my book and through what I coach and through what I do, it's about mindset shifts. I mean, really all of it is life, and success in life is about mindset shifts. Because this right now, me being an author, me being a podcaster, me doing what I'm doing, I'm in my 4th career, a pivot is a good word, I guess we'll use. Yeah. And in doing that, each one of them has been about, finding out what is my heart saying to me? What do I want to do? And I'm not going to be afraid to try, because I know this, but I never thought about it as talking back, because sometimes you just have to have that conversation. Because really all of these mantras in my book and what I put together are really about values, about what do you value, what's most important to you. And they're, throughout this one about fear. Overcoming fear is so important, but they're about making good choices, about having self-control, about showing integrity, about being generous. Living in fear gets you nowhere. I mean, I've shared this in one of the other podcasts. If you could see the wall here in my room that I'm in, it is full of quotes and mantras, or whatever you want to call them, to remind me daily, because it's just how my brain works in small chunks and pieces. But I have one of my favorites is my daughter saying, the brave do not live forever, but the cautious do not live at all. And it's a picture of my daughter walking across the streets of New York. But I love that one, because we have to talk back and tell ourselves we can do this. We're headed on a path of things that we want.
And I'll say similarly, it's there's trusting your gut and impulses and feeling and all that. But then there's times where that logic isn't useless. It is so important when our feelings suddenly are that negative voice, that doubt. Because think about paramedics, right? Okay. People in the emergency. When people are in situations of crises, they freeze. They're in shock. They're not thinking straight. They spiral out. Their emotions are now unregulated. And what is the training for paramedics and people in emergencies? they use logic. They keep them focused, keep them calm, answer simple questions,
Right.
give them encouragement. And suddenly it's like just using tactics of logic help them kind of recenter themselves so that then within themselves they can find that mechanism.
That's huge. No, I love that.
Yeah.
So finding the logical when you're in a place of fear, because sometimes fear feels really irrational, and it is really irrational.
Yes.
We become afraid to try something or do something because we simply just, what am I going to do? Yeah. Great words. No, I'm like, ooh, I take some notes on these things. That's really good. I'm like, going to talk back to my fear and remember logic is one of the antidotes to fear. It really, really is, as well as that talking back and relying on your subconscious mind and knowing that your gut is going to tell you whether something is right or wrong. I have a note here that bravery is not an attribute. I think bravery is a choice. And so I think maybe that's another antidote to fear is how do we want to, not how do we care how other people see us? I mean, sometimes I think we get way too caught up in what, I mean, you and I we've had a lot of conversations about, because of what you're doing, because of what I have been doing with getting my coaching business up and going, getting my book out there. We get wrapped up in social media a lot, more than we wish we could throw the phones out, but it's just a reality of the world that we live in for what we want to do. And it's a part of being in the public eye. So that being said, we always have to, we live in this concern of what everyone thinks of us. We live in concern about, how am I being perceived? And sometimes you just have to be brave. What do you think about bravery? What are times, can you share a time that you think you've been just brave? Not caring what other people think.
100%. And it's funny because when I was reviewing this chapter, I really was like, I'm going to really think about bravery in its definition. And I think for some time, it's easy to think bravery is like, when you do something over and over again, you desensitize yourself to it. Suddenly it's easier to do. That's not what bravery is. Bravery is when it's still scary to you, and you should do it anyway. Exactly. And so there's a key. There's a key difference, and both are important, because sometimes to overcome, they say to become courageous or confident, just do fake confidence, and sooner or later your body's not going to know the difference, and suddenly you're just confident, right? Because your body just learns to do it,
right?
And over time, and the same thing with when you desensitize yourself, the more you do something, the less intense or scary it becomes. But bravery is when something is still terrifying to you, and you choose to do it anyway.
It terrifies you, but you don't want to let it stop you.
No, exactly. You know that, and I have actually, talking about fear and bravery, one of the mantras I live by is everything you've ever wanted is just on the other side of fear.
That's excellent. Everything you've ever wanted is just on the other side of fear.
And so it's like, that might be the most terrifying step, but the reward that you got to remind yourself that's after will always be bigger.
Oh yeah.
Always be bigger.
And that's huge. That's so huge to remember, because I always have to have a caveat. So if you're a parent listening to this podcast, because I do work with parents and I do parent coaching, and I do tell the allegory, if you will, the metaphor of this whole entire book is through how I parented my children. But I share this. I think the greatest tenets of leadership come from parenting, and the greatest tenets of parenting come from leadership. So they blend together well. So if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, but as I listen to this and try to get advice for how to raise my kids, you got to keep them safe. Yes, you're not going to ever put somebody in mortal peril. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about bravery and we're talking about overcoming fear, it's allowing, I think, as an individual, allowing yourself to have a greater opportunity because you weren't afraid to try. As a parent, it's allowing your children to have greater opportunity because you weren't afraid to let them try. And I think bravery is such a big part of that. Knowing right on the other side of fear is going to be their biggest success, and it's going to be yours. I mean, I can share that since I brought in the parenting aspect. I mean, all three of my kids have gone away to college, and for some people that seems very normal, and of course that happens. But in the community where we raised our children, we're in the Central Valley of California. We're a very agrarian-based community. We have 2 universities here within reason, and we have a number of them in the state of California where your kid could be home for the weekend at any given time. Our kids went all over the world. They've gone all over the world. Caden knows this. And, part of the reasons that people like Caden end up in our family is because our son ended up in his family over time because he was so far away a lot of the time. And that was true of our daughters too. Letting your children fly free and go, that's a big fear. That's a huge fear. When my son was just turned 18 years old, he'd already graduated from high school. He spent his first year out of our home as an exchange student in Alicante, Spain. Okay. I not only had to let him go, I had to let him go far away. And this was many years ago where we still didn't have, we all didn't have iPhones. We didn't have ways to FaceTime. About maybe once a month, I'd get to talk with my son for an entire year. And there was a lot of fear in letting that happen, but I knew who he wanted to become. I knew what he wanted to do with his life. And I knew overcoming my own fear to let him go was one of the best things in the whole wide world for him. So either it's as parents or as leaders, maybe you're listening to this or watching this and you're like, okay, I'm not talking about parenting. As a builder of a company, as a manager of people, sometimes letting go and letting people become who they can become, that's it too. And showing bravery, but then it's for our own individual selves. What is your dream? What have you not ever tried? Maybe it's a career dream. Maybe it's just that I've always wanted to run a marathon. On the other side of the fear of all the pain and the fitness and change in your body that you're going to have to go through comes the incredible success of completing that. Whatever it is. What do you want to share?
You can tell. I'm like, well, I got shivers. I got shivers when you were talking there because it's so true. It is so important to make people around you care about know that you believe in them. And the reason is because, especially for kids, having parents that believe in you or supporters or whatever, parental figure, friends believe in you is how you can start to believe in yourself if it's not there to begin with. I think it's easier to distrust our own selves than other people often, people we care about, because, there's insecurity or whatever. But, and that story goes directly to parenting. So when I was young, I can't even remember how old I was. I was quite a young kid, but I loved exploring the world and traveling, and I loved nature, and I used to catch frogs, and I loved animals, and it was a whole thing. But I was terrified of sharks.
Okay.
So my family went to, I think, Universal Studios or Disneyland or something like that. I can't remember exactly which one we were at. And there was this experience where you could swim, snorkel, through this small little tank and see all these different fish and stuff. But they were obviously, now knowing, harmless sharks. But when you're a kid, you don't know that.
All sharks are going to eat you.
All sharks will eat you, right? And so I remember, it took a solid 40 minutes. My dad was just patient with me. Everyone is passing us whatever at the front of the tank, and the people working were we're just gonna let these the dad's doing his thing. And I was crying and I was bawling, and I remember being caught. It wasn't like I didn't want to do it. It was my dad knew I wanted to do this. He saw it in me. Yeah. And he was like, we're getting you there, and we're not going to give up. And thank God he did. I just got shivers. Yeah. It was one of those, and I'll never forget that moment, how my dad believed in me, and I believed in me, and the reward I felt when I crossed that tank to the other side. Yeah, was right on the other side of your fear. Right on the other side of your fear. I love it. And I love it. You can't reciprocate those feelings. You can't just they are there. And I think that's we were sharing we having a dinner last night because we had all of our family here, and we were before my daughter and her boyfriend left. We were just having this little talk about, my husband loves to pass a rock around the table with a different word on it every night. And it was leadership last night. They were talking about leadership. Yeah. And we were talking about that. And I was sharing that my philosophy has always been, whether I was a teacher with my children, I've done a lot of corporate training with realtors and different things like that in my career. And when I have worked myself out of a job, when people don't need me anymore, I feel like that's my greatest moment of success. Keeping them dependent upon me is not where they grow, and it's not where they become their best, and it's not where I become my best. Because if I've done a really good job, if I've done it right, I either have to start with a whole new group, or I got to find something new to do because I've already trained them all. And that's what your dad did in that moment. He said, it's about you first, and it's about you overcoming that fear. And I think that's a huge thing. And that's super important, whether we're on the coaching training side of somebody that has fear, or whether it's us ourselves. It's that moment, because that little thing, as small as that was in your life on that vacation, was
It was a piece that built on everything else you've become.
Exactly.
Because, and I think as parents, we have to be very careful that helicoptering that parents tend to do over their kids and keeping an eye on them. We want them safe, but we need them to be able to grow into strong individuals. And it's super important. And if we were never given that opportunity, sometimes we repeat the habit, and it's super important to step back and go, okay, how can we be different? How can we make our decisions so that our own children will, or our own employees or whatever will have their own strength?
Yeah, and talk about defining moments.
Oh, yeah.
You never know when something, as small as it is, could be a defining moment for someone.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You got to make sure to share this podcast with your dad when it comes out. So, Dad, you got to listen to this, because there's a little gem in there for you. Because as a parent, you love knowing that you did that, because in his mind, he knew it was important in that moment, but he didn't probably even realize how important it is in this moment too. So that's super important. And I think it's really important as we kind of wrap up here, talking about. I love to bring things back to the book, because of course you're going to find a lot of the good stuff that we're talking about in here. But one of the things I talk about in the book is, and I encourage you in the subconscious mind conversation, watch your habits and watch the routines that you live this week. And this next week, just pay attention, because I think a lot of times it's just about paying attention to where we are. Mindset shifts happen when we become aware that we need them. So this week, figure out where you're not listening to your gut, where you're not allowing yourself to use that intuition to move forward, whether in whatever role that is, whatever that fear might look like for you, whether it's fear in the way that you lead or fear in something you want to become. And then number 2, pay attention to where you see that you made that I'm going to go with my gut on this. I just feel that this is the right thing to do, because in everything we need to become aware where our weakness is, but we also need to celebrate our strengths. So where are you allowing yourself to just listen to your gut? And if you aren't, think about all the places where habits are just habits. Like, when you get up in the morning, when you get in the car to go, when you walk into your office, when you name it, you don't tell yourself to breathe. Otherwise you'd never breathe. You would never do anything else other than think, breathe in, breathe out, because we do it automatically. Our subconscious brain does that for us. And then start to think about where are places you could let go of stuff, because you know that you have the ability to get that done. And then how those things can help you step up and overcome your fears. And, get the job, then learn the job. So if you like get the job, then learn the job, if you like that as your reminder that you can overcome fear, then please use our mantra. But if you don't, like the one that Kaden shared,
everything you've ever wanted
is right on the other side of fear, then make that your mantra. What's your mantra? That's what we're asking you, because the mantra is simply there to remind you that you have the power to take the value of overcoming fear and making it your strongest, or whatever value it is that you're trying to strengthen. So we encourage you to figure out what your mantra is. If you like this podcast, if you're enjoying it, I like to always share. I'm not the one that does all the tech stuff, but I know that you can subscribe, you can download, you can definitely share this out. And I asked you to go ahead and do that so that you can let other people know about it, listen to some of our other episodes, listen to some of our other mantras. And then also you can always go to livingbythemantras.com. That is my website. And on that website, you can follow us on social media. You can order the book. You can get fabulous hats like the one I'm wearing today. It's just a great place to go to follow what we're doing. And thank you so much, Kaden, for joining me today. And you are the best. And I always love having you in my home and in my studio. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks.